I'm out political canvassing, right?
Okay.
I'm over here looking for my next house.
Okay.
And these two dudes come up with their dog and tell me, what's in your backpack?
Okay.
And I said, what do you mean what's in my backpack?
Okay.
Well, I thought I was getting robbed, dude.
I understand. I'm just saying.
And then
not robbing you. How you doing?
Not bad.
You're right.
Are you his boss? Yes. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the only concern is, man, look, some people just called in, right? They said that you were going up door to door, like checking door handles and stuff, okay?
Well, I'm not checking. I am going door to door.
We are.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are no welcome to politically canvass in the area. That's absolutely something you're allowed to do, okay? Some of those people just called in, right, because they're concerned, because they thought you were like jingling door handles, and they're worried and they're concerned because there's been some break-ins in the area recently.
They need to not come up and demand I open anything. Come up with two dogs threatening me. Like, that is not okay, dude.
That's not okay. That's definitely not okay. And I think I can understand both sides of what's happening here.
I can understand them too, but when I told them I'm politically canvassing...
They're not you guys. You know what I mean? They're not the cops.
So here's the deal, okay? So you got to remember, right, you're not in any kind of attire showing that you're politically canvassing, or you're in a video game t-shirt, some headphones, some sunglasses, and a backpack and ball shorts, right? So
That's not illegal.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. What you're about to witness is a confrontation that perfectly captures the growing tension between everyday citizens and law enforcement. In this encounter, a man peacefully engaging in political canvassing is suddenly approached by police officers responding to suspicious complaints. From the very beginning, the tone is aggressive. The officers demand identification, question his presence, and suggest criminal intent, all before confirming any facts. The man insists he is simply exercising his constitutional rights. Yet instead of de-escalating, the officers escalate. They imply trespassing, reference vague allegations, and begin laying the groundwork for potential arrest. This isn't just about one stop, it's about how quickly a lawful activity can be reframed as suspicious when authority goes unchecked. Pay close attention to how fast rights are challenged.
No, it's not. I'm just explaining to you, right? People might perceive what you're doing, right, is illegal, like hot prowling, right? That is a law and it is a violation. You can't go on people's properties. Anytime you pass a public sidewalk and it's somebody's private property, that is trespassing, right? That's people's concern right now.
If I were to remain...
Our job is to figure out what's going on, right? All we need to know is your name, what you're putting. If you have anything to say, hey, I'm politically canvassing, cool. That way we can go back to them and tell them the gentleman's just politically canvassing. He showed us. We have sufficient, information to say, you know what, that's all he's doing. But in the interest of justice and for public, right, that's their request, and that's why we're doing our due diligence.
Well, okay. I mean, respectfully, I know my rights. I will read. Okay. They can request all they want, but to alleviate their concern, my name is Ron, and I work for. Okay. Am I being detained?
Right now, yes, for trespassing, because you were on people's properties. So if you want to go down that road, we just need your name, date of birth, and we'll check you, make sure you're not a wanted person, and be done and over with.
I'm so sorry. Where was he at? Where he was trespassing? I'm so sorry.
He was at people's doors that he was knocking. That's when you cross somebody's threshold to their property line, right? That is trespassing. When you're not on a public
enter or remain unlawfully. I never entered or remained unlawfully.
Hold on, Ron, calm down.
The man explains clearly, he is going door to door for political canvassing. That's protected speech. That's civic engagement. That's democracy in action. But officers argue that concerned neighbors reported him checking door handles, hinting at possible burglary attempts. Without concrete evidence, suspicion becomes the driving force. The officers claim that stepping onto private property to knock on a door could amount to trespassing. This interpretation immediately raises red flags. In communities across America, canvassing, solicitation, and knocking are routine and legally recognized activities. Yet here, the narrative shifts from clarification to intimidation. The officers suggest that because he isn't wearing identifiable campaign attire, his presence appears criminal. Appearance becomes justification. Perception becomes probable cause. And just like that, a lawful citizen is forced into a defensive posture, calmly asserting rights while being treated like a suspect.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm just trying to understand. Sure. We're going to knock on people's doors.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. So we're not allowed to knock.
First Amendment right.
Ron, calm down.
I'm sorry.
We're not allowed to walk onto someone's door and knock on your door?
Correct, because it's their private property. So so like right now we're on a public sidewalk. Where he's standing is technically private property. Somebody maintains that lawn, somebody cares for that lawn. This building probably, chances are, is who owns that, right? However, most people aren't going to call in and say, hey, you're trespassing, right? but because of the nature and how everything went down, right, and their confrontation, their disturbance, whatever it is that they got into, I wasn't there, right? You know I wasn't there. It was you and them, right?
Well, how are you going to convince a jury?
Right? So the allegation right now, right, is that. Right? Very simple. All we do is verify who you are, ensure that all you're doing is canvassing.
I have a Fourth Amendment protection.
Right? Okay, if you'd like to go down that road, we can go down and we'll take you to jail for trespassing, if that's the road you want to go down. I'm trying to prevent that, alleviate all that, by just verifying who you are. Very simple.
I committed no crime.
When you're trespassing, that is a crime.
No, if anybody ever told me to leave their property, I left, and that wasn't today.
Okay, it doesn't matter. You still can't just trespass on people's properties. It's private property. If you don't own it, it's owned by somebody else. Right? Like the grass you're standing on, if somebody called and said, hey, that guy's trespassing, I want to trespass,
so
I have
then
to identify you and issue you a warning, and then
a picture is sufficient.
As the exchange intensifies, the officers narrow their demand, name and date of birth. They insist it's simple, just verify identity and move on. But the man understands something critical. Providing identification under threat transforms a voluntary encounter into a compelled one. He asks the key question, am I being detained? Instead of a clear answer, he receives conditional warnings about trespassing. The officers argue that crossing onto lawns constitutes unlawful entry. He counters that knocking on a door does not equal criminal trespass, especially when no one asked him to leave. The legal debate unfolds in real time. You can feel the pressure mounting. The officers shift from explanation to authority. The citizen remains measured but firm. This is the moment where constitutional theory meets street-level enforcement, and where knowledge becomes the only shield.
What was that?
A picture is sufficient for a warning. You can take my picture and say you did.
That's not sufficient. We need a name and date of birth because we have to issue you a formal trespass warning.
So under threat of arrest, if I do not give you my name,
threat, okay.
So if I do not give you my name, will you?
Because now you're.
But you will arrest me.
You're trespassing, and you don't give us your information. Now it's obstruction.
If I do not give you my name, you'll arrest me.
Listen, we don't want to go down that road.
I know, but I'm just asking you.
I am being as reasonable with you as I can be. Okay.
And I want to comply.
Listen, okay.
I want to comply, but
private property, okay. The city of Billings, right, requires we identify the person to issue them a warning, saying, "Hey, sir, you've been warned. Please do not trespass."
And the Supreme Court has ruled that a picture is sufficient.
Ron, I need you to hold on for a second. This is my program organizer.
Okay,
would you mind just talking to her for a second?
No problem.
I want legal representation.
Hello, this is Officer Diaz. Who am I speaking with? Good. I'm doing well. We're just out here because there was reports of some kind of hot prowling going on where, what's your name?
But they're false reports.
My name is...
Thank you.
We work for... Ron, he works with me.
Ryan.
Ron.
So I guess Brian? Ron. I guess Ron was doing some political canvassing.
Yes, that's what we do.
And they were knocking on doors and so forth, which they're allowed to do, right? However,
no crime.
When you trespass on somebody's private property, it's trespassing. So most people aren't going to call in that you came to solicit and do all that stuff, right? At the end of the day, like I explained all that, that's all we're trying to do.
I'm going to give up my rights. He just said I haven't committed any crime. I have no obligation to identify.
Look, real quick,
that's what he said.
It's Ron, right?
But if he's going to threaten me with arrest, then I will sue them for a violation.
So, really quickly, Ron,
like
let me just clear this up really quickly, okay?
Somebody maintains the grass.
Billings City Code has a thing just called...
Now the threat becomes explicit. If he refuses to provide identification, arrest is on the table. The charge? Trespassing. And if he continues to withhold his name, obstruction. This is where the temperature spikes. The man invokes his Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. The officers counter with city code language, claiming they must identify him to issue a formal trespass warning. He proposes an alternative, take a picture instead. They reject it. They want a name tied to a database. Under the looming possibility of jail, the encounter shifts from casual questioning to coercion. The officer frames compliance as the easy way out. But the citizen recognizes the slippery slope. When rights are conditioned on convenience, they're no longer rights, they're privileges granted at an officer's discretion.
That's fine. I just need to know if I do not give my name, will you arrest me?
If Ron is
okay, thank you.
I don't know what company you work for.
Am I free to go now?
Not
right now, right? Just Billings.
So what reasonable articulable suspicion do you have that I... Trespassing is when you enter and remain unlawfully. Nothing about me knocking on their door was unlawful.
I appreciate you explaining the trespassing, okay? That's really helpful. Thank you. Okay?
Like I said, most
I'm talking about the situation with Billings City Code, okay?
That
has to do with prowling. You kind of already explained it. why you're here. You're political.
And I have my boss. So there we go. Political canvassing. This is my First Amendment right. I am exercising my First Amendment right.
So like as part of like that Billings City Code requiring
because of that,
we just need to identify.
Can you get me that Billings City Code?
Would you like me to show it to you?
Yeah.
I don't want a person identify him, be done with it, and send him on his way.
You can even read it if you would like.
Being difficult and not wanting to give his name. So that's kind of where we're at.
Oh, I'm a law-abiding individual practicing my First Amendment right, though.
Absolutely. Right,
So,
part of the
absolutely.
People came and they described it, right? They described it as you were coming in and you were like making.
But that's why you do due diligence and you come and get the second side of the story and you find out that my boss is here and I'm exercising my First Amendment right. So now, so what crime have I committed?
Because I'm trying to complete and make sure, right? Like obviously,
What does my name have to do with any of that?
Verify it, right? For us to be able to
and that's what we want to leave it as, very simple.
And confirm,
just be like, hey,
right, that you are here and what you're doing is politically.
I just told you, do you have any reason to believe that is not why I am here? Other than what those people, exactly. If you don't know, how are you going to convince a jury?
Because here's the thing, man, is we don't necessarily know for sure.
Ron, we are not trying to antagonize each other. They're trying to do their jobs. Someone call the police. Like if you were to call the police in your area and tell them it's the same thing, they're going to come and check it out. That what they said to you was not okay, but trying to figure out the situation. We've got to try to stay calm for them. They're trying to not arrest you. They're trying to get to the bottom of who we are so that they can just.
I believe in my rights. That's why I'm out politically canvassing, exercising my First Amendment right. And I've just asked, am I going to be arrested if I do not give my name? He said no. What's your answer?
Okay, so
since you know that I'm politically canvassing and not doing that code.
Here's the deal, okay? Since you're being less than forthcoming and there's bigger problems that are plaguing our city in the interest of justice and the safety of the community, we're not going to waste our time with you anymore, okay?
I want to go home. Thank you.
The reality is, okay?
Thank you.
Had we had more time and all this stuff, we'd be...
The man requests legal representation and contacts his program organizer. Even on the phone, the officers continue justifying their position. They mention reports of hot prowling, attempting to reinforce the seriousness of the call. Yet when pressed, they admit canvassing itself is allowed. The contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. If the activity is legal, what exactly justifies detention? The officer circles back to private property arguments, insisting that any step beyond the sidewalk may constitute trespass. But context matters. Intent matters. Lawful purpose matters. The citizen repeatedly clarifies he never entered unlawfully and would leave if asked. Instead of acknowledging that, officers double down. The debate isn't just legal anymore, it's philosophical. Does suspicion alone override constitutional protection? Or must the government meet a higher standard before threatening arrest?